Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avataravarishthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Namaskar to all of you. We shall begin the study of Bhagavad Gita with the meditation verses of the Bhagavad Gita. I'm going to repeat these verses. You can repeat it after me. I think you have the copies of this meditation verses and the Bhagavad Gita. We shall now repeat the prayers to Bhagavad Gita. Om Parthaya Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Puranamunina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Rtavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashaധ്യായിനീം അംബത്വാം അനുസന്ദധാമി ഭഗവദ്ഗീതേ ഭവദ്വേഷിണീം Om Bhagavad Gita, with which Partha was enlightened by the Lord Narayana himself and which was incorporated in the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa Maharshi. The Blessed Mother Bhagavad Gita, you are the destroyer of rebirth, showering down the nectar of Advaita, philosophy of non-duality, and consisting of 18 chapters upon thee, O Bhagavad Gita, O loving Mother, I constantly meditate upon. Now, the second verse of meditation on Bhagavad Gita. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Phullaravindayata Patra Netra Phullaravindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः. Salutation to thee, O Vyasa Maharshi, of mighty intellect and with eyes large like the petals of full-blown lotus, by whom was lit the lamp of wisdom full of the Mahabharata oil. Prapanna parijataya Prapanna parijataya Totravetraikapanaye Totravetraikapanaye Gnanamudraya Krishnaya Gnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamrutaduhe Namaha Gitamrutaduhe Namaha. Salutation to Lord Krishna with the right hand held in Gnanamudra, the granter of desires of those who take refuge in him. He is the milker of the Gita nectar, in whose one hand is the cane for driving the cows. Now we are next going to the fourth verse on the meditation of Bhagavad Gita. Sarvopanishado gavo Sarvopanishado gavo Dugdha Gopalanandanaha Dugdha Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsasudhi Bhokta Partho Vatsasudhi Bhokta Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. All the Upanishads are the cows. The milkman is the cowherd boy Lord Krishna. Partha or Arjuna is the calf. Men and women of purified intellect are the drinkers of, and the supreme nectar Bhagavad Gita is the milk. This is a very famous, popular verse all over India. Now we will go to the next verse on the meditation of Bhagavad Gita, fifth one. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanooramardhanam Kamsachanooramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. The divine son of Vasudeva, the destroyer of the evil-doers Kamsa and Chanura, the supreme bliss of Mother Devaki, I salute that Lord Krishna, the Guru of the whole universe. Now we are going to the sixth verse. I think today we will stop here on the meditation of Bhagavad Gita. After that we will go to the proper Bhagavad Gita. Bhishmadronatata Jayadratajala Bhishmadronatata Jayadratajala Gandharanilotpala Gandharanilotpala Shalyagrahavati Kripena Vahani Shalyagrahavati जग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्णघोरमकरा अश्वत्थाम विकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवै सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवै रणनदी रणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः कैवर्तकः केशवः. This battle is compared to a river. The battle also can be taken into as our life battle. So this battle river where the two banks are Bhishma and Drona as its banks, Jayadratha as its water, one of the enemy warrior Jayadratha, then the king of Gandhara, Shakuni Mama, as the blue water lilies, Shalya as the shark, Kripa as its current, Karna as its breakers, Ashwatthama and Vikarna as its terrible crocodiles, and Duryodhana as the whirlpool in that river. Was indeed the Pandavas could easily cross it over with Lord Krishna, Keshavaha, as the ferryman. So Lord Keshava, if he is our ferryman, I think we sing one song here in our ashrama. In that, Ramakrishna is told as Naya. Naya means the same ferry man who crosses, the boatman who takes us across this river. So Paramadayal, Prabhu Paramadayal in that song, Naya, that word is used here in Sanskrit. Kaivartakaha means the boatman. So the Pandavas had to cross this very difficult river, the battle of our life with so many crocodiles, sharks, then whirlpool and so many other difficult situations easily with the help of Lord Krishna. So now we have finished the meditation verses. We shall go to see the proper Bhagavad Gita in the first chapter. The name of the first chapter is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. All of you can repeat the name of the chapter so that you can keep it in your memory. Can you repeat what the name of the chapter is? Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So what is Arjuna? Name of the one of the Pandavas. Then Vishada means sorrow or melancholy. Yoga. Yoga is the union with the Paramatman, Jivatman with Paramatman. So when Arjuna turned his sorrow towards Lord Krishna, then he could, with that sorrow also, he could make that as a yoga to reach God. So Arjuna Vishadha Yoga. Now we shall go to the verses, whereby last time we studied the third verse. Today we shall take up the fourth, fifth and sixth, whereby Duryodhana is telling, all these are verses repeated by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra, and here Duryodhana is telling to his Guru, Acharya, teacher, Drona. The fourth verse is Atra Shura Maheshvasa Bhima Arjuna Samayudhi Yuyudhano Viratascha Drupadascha Maharataha Drishtaketuschekitanaha Kashirajascha Vidyavan Purujit Kuntibhojascha Shaibhyascha Narapungavaha. So that is the fifth, fourth and fifth verse. And the sixth verse is Yudhamanyuscha Vikranta Uttamaujascha Vidyavan Saubhadro Draupadeyascha Sarva Eva Maharathaha. See, in Sanskrit, there are different kind of words. They are categorized as Alpa Prana and Mahaprana. We do find that in English and other languages. What is Alpa Prana? When we use less energy of the lungs, that is called Alpa, little, Prana, energy. So for example, A, I, Ka, Ga. So all that, see, we are using less energy. Suppose now, Mahaprana, you are using more energy to pronounce that. What is that? If Ka is just little prana, Ka. See, so much of noise came out. I'm using more lung power. That is called Mahaprana. These are the two varieties. Now you can see so many. Yudha, the Dha is Mahaprana. Then another word like that is Saubha, Saubhadro Bha. That is Mahaprana. Then Maharathaha, Ha was Mahaprana. Then another type of pronunciation or the time used to pronounce that akshara or the letter in Sanskrit is, suppose we use 1 unit of time. See, it is not categorized in this way in English. Everything is the same. A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. That's all. But here in Sanskrit, there are another 2 categories. What is that? If you use 1 unit of time to pronounce that letter, then it becomes Hrasva. How is it pronounced? 1 unit. Then if you use 2 unit of time, that is Dirgha. Suppose we use more than 2 unit of time, then it becomes Pluta. Long time. See now how much difference. The beauty of Sanskrit language is so beautiful and so scientific. That's why Sanskrit is the only language which is most suitable for computer or any other scientific usages, because everything is so nicely categorized, and where the letter are pronounced from, accordingly they have been categorized. See, when you are pronouncing ka, kha, ga, ga, nga, everything is coming from the kantha, throat. Ka, kha, ga, ga, nga. Then next one, cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Everything is pronounced by our teeth. They are called dantavya. Cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Ta, tha, da, dha, na. By the tongue touching one portion, it's called ta, ta, da, da, na. Ta, ta, da, da, na. Then pa, pa, ba, ba, ma. Lips touching together. Pa, pa, ba, ba, ma. Try to pronounce pa, pa, ba, ba, ma without touching the lips. You can't. So they are categorized like this. They are called Vargiya group. So Sanskrit is so beautifully categorized like this. You can't find any other language categorized in this form. Then you saw the category like this. Kaka, ga, ga, nga, cha, cha, ja, ja. Now if you do like this categorization, you get another. The last categorization is all nasal. What is that? Nya, kaka, ga, ga, nga, nga, nya, nga, na, na, ma. Try to pronounce that nya, nga, na, na, ma, closing your nose. Try to close your nose and try to pronounce that. Nga, 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 na, na, ma. At the end of this Vargiya Vyanjana it's called, that is the consonant, is all nasal words there. So likewise, you can see beautiful categorization and so nice, which cannot be categorized in that way. They have been grouped as Avargiya Vyanjana. What is that? Ya, ra, la, va, sha, sha, sa, ha, la, sha. So all that 50 letters have been so nicely kept. The most scientific language. Why did I tell you? Because we need in the pronunciation or the learning of the verses. So I taught, or I told a little about Sanskrit. Now let us go. What is here? Duryodhana telling his teacher, oh, Acharya, Dronacharya, behold, in their ranks, in the Pandava army, or many powerful warriors like Duryodhana, Virata, Drupada, wielding mighty bows and equal in military prowess to Bhima and Arjuna. They are also accomplished heroes like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, the gallant king of Kashi, Purujit, Kuntibhoja, and Shaibhya, all the best of men in their ranks. They also have the courageous Yudhamanyu, the gallant Uttamoja, the son of Subhadra, and the son of Draupadi, who are all great warrior chiefs. Now, these are words of Duryodhana. See now, if you have too much of desire, if you have too much of jealousy, if you have all the bad qualities like Duryodhana, then fear comes in automatically. So now see, due to the anxiety, why do we get anxiety? You can see here. The characters here are kept in such a way that you can understand. If you have these qualities, you will have these pains and suffering. Now Duryodhana is getting anxious. Due to his anxiety that the Pandava army seemed, because of his anxiety and jealousy, now even though Pandava army is very small compared to his army of 11 Akshauhini Sene, I gave you in the last class or the other last class description of what is one Akshauhini army. So how many horses, how many elephants, how many infantry, how many cavalry, all that thing I gave you in detail. If you have forgotten it, you can go to the YouTube. In the last this thing, you can find all the details. Now, Pandavas could collect only 7 Akshauhini army. But Duryodhana is having 11. But still, he's having fear. Why? Because of this quality of his anger, jealousy, all those things brings in competition, greed, that brings in anxiety, fear. The Pandava army, though small, is seeming much larger to Duryodhana than it actually was. He had never expected the opponents could mobilize an army of warriors with such military prowess, who would be formidable in battle. Out of fear of the looming catastrophe, he started enumerating the names of all those great warriors. I also in the last class told about who are called Maharati, Athirata, Maharata, Ardharata, Ratha. I gave you all that hierarchy. Who are those warriors? Now they are all well-trained warriors. Now, all these well-trained warriors, according to their capacity to defeat other well-trained warriors, with how many can they fight? They go on making or grouping their capacity. Now, there are so many Maharathis, all that I explained in the last class. So, Maharathis, warriors who were simply equivalent in strength to 10,000 ordinary warriors gathered on the Pandava sides. They were all exceptional heroes and great military commanders, equivalent in valor to their cousins Arjuna and Bhima. So he's telling his teacher as if the teacher Dronacharya doesn't know all these things. He has trained all of them. He knows everything about those people, but yet out of anxiety and anger toward his own guru, because he has trained all of them, he's now showing out his fear, putting out his fear. Now, in this army, there are many powerful archers who are equal to Bhima and Arjuna in battle. Satyaki, the king of Virata country, and Drupada, the great warrior. Duryodhana's words continue in these verses. Duryodhana is enlisting those important warriors, the powerful soldiers in Pandava's army. And who are they? Atra Shura Maheshwasaha. What is meant by they are Maharathas also? Shura means valorous, courageous one, who are not frightened of our army. And what is meant by Maheshwasa? Ishwasa means bow, Dhanus. Maha means great. Maheshwasa means a person who is wielding very powerful bows. How can that become powerful? All the bows are similar. How can that be so powerful? Because they have been received from great sources. That's why it is powerful. Arrows and bows then they are received by great sources, maybe by Indra, by Shiva, by some other Lord Vishnu. So if they have come from great sources, Parashurama, some avatar Purusha, the great devatas, great saints, so they are not ordinary bows, though the bows are made from the same metal and the same string and everything. Here is telling Maheshwasa, they are wielding great bows, means they have been issued or they've got it from some higher sources, including divine sources. Therefore, they're all wielding powerful bows and arrows, and each one of them is very great Maharatha or Maharathi. I will tell you one Sanskrit verse where you can find who is a Maharatha or Maharathi. Now, the verse depicting the Maharathi is Ekodasha Sahasranam Yodhaye Yastu Dhanvinam Shastra Shastra Pravinascha Maharataha Iti Sprutaha. Who is then, what is that description in the Sanskrit? Who is called with the title Maharata? The one who can single-handedly fight 10,000 trained soldiers and win over them or defeat all of them. Ekahasan, single-handedly. Dashasahasranam dhanvinam yodhaye. Imagine the strength and valor of this warrior. So a Maharathi is, he can defeat in the battle at one go simultaneously all the 10,000 soldiers. So whoever come to face him, trained soldiers, not ordinary soldiers. Then imagine the greatness, the courage, the valor of this Maharathi. Some such great Maharathis are there now on the side of the Pandava. Suppose somebody can fight simultaneously about 10,000 and more. He is called Athiratha. Lord Krishna was Athiratha. But why is he not mentioning here? Krishna had taken a vow that he will not fight the battle. So now he is not going to take up any arms. He will be just the charioteer of Arjuna. That's why even though he is greater than all of these people, he is a Athiratha. He can defeat more than 10,000 soldiers. He is not mentioned, enumerated here because Krishna had taken a vow. I'm not going to take up any arms. I will not fight. So he was only the charioteer. So he was guiding Arjuna. So just like I told you in that meditation verse, Kaivartakaha Keshavaha. Arjuna is just like the boatman ferrying all the Pandavas very smoothly across this river of battle. So that's why here Krishna is not enumerated. Now, in the last class, I told you that I wanted to take you this through some special thing. And what is that? Why is this first chapter, instead of giving us some philosophical discussion, it is taking us through battles. It is taking us through the problems. It is taking us through some different characters which are not so important to us. Why did Vyasa Maharshi keep this first chapter, that to sorrow of Arjuna, in the beginning? Why should we hear about sorrow? Why can't you give good news? Why do you want to give bad news? That sorrow of Arjuna. So you may get the question. So that's why I told you in the last class that I'm going to take you through the basic human problems of our life. It's very, very important. This analyzing what is the problems of our life. So everyone have to do this. Otherwise, we do not know where we are, what the problems are. That's why this first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is a great help for us to analyze the different problems. Okay? See, if you read through the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, he simplifies the whole of this samsara of this world as Kama Kanchana, X and Y. Just like in algebra, everything is simplified to X and Y. Likewise, Ramakrishna has simplified the whole world or this universe as Kama Kanchana, lust and greed. But what is Bhagavad Gita? How is it simplifying? all the problems of the world. Let us see. And why is this first chapter, the sorrow of Arjuna? The first purpose of the first chapter is presenting basic human problems known as samsara. What is the meaning of samsara? What is the term samsara in Sanskrit? Samyak sarati. Samyak means very nicely. Sarati means it will be moving. You want to get some happiness in your life. You thought I was so happy. Suddenly it slips away. You thought you had married and now you are going to be happy. Now problems comes in. Wonderful problems. So you thought that you will be very happy when you had children. Then all different problems, happiness is gone. So samyak sarati, just like a river, it's constantly flowing. You can't catch hold of it at all. So this problem is known as samsara. So the presentation or the description of the basic human problems known as samsara comes in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Why do I call this as basic human problems? Why can't I give some other problem? Why do I call it basic human problems? Because this human problem is universal, irrespective of nationality, whether you are in Africa, whether you are in India, Asia, Middle East, or in America, South America, or you are in Antarctica or Arctic region, wherever you go, whether you may now, Tesla is planning to take you all to the moon and make a community there, all are paying money and want to get house in the moon. So even if you go there, this problem will be the same. So that's why it's called universal problem. I call this basic human problems because this human problem is universal, irrespective of nationality, whether you are Indian by birth, whether you are African by birth, whether you are a Caucasian, whether you are Asian, whether you are some other race, it doesn't matter. Problem is the same. So irrespective of nationality, irrespective of religion, irrespective of caste, irrespective of education, irrespective of sex, irrespective of age, irrespective of all the superficial human differences, the basic problems of samsara is common. And this does not belong to a particular time also. You may think, okay, see, you ask your grandfather, he will tell, oh, our period during the apartheid was very good. Now somebody has taken over the power, so it is very bad. You ask your children, they will tell the same thing. Oh, our time was very good. Now the future is going for 2 dogs. You ask your great-grandchildren, they will tell the same thing. You ask your forefathers or even earlier, if you can meet them, they will also tell the same thing. So any particular time of history, this problem, this human problem is common. Any time of the history that was faced by Arjuna some 5 or 10 or 15 or 30,000 years back before, and we are also facing the same problem in this century. And even if you live long enough, maybe after 10,000 years, it will be the same basic problem. It's going to survive. They will continue to have, everybody will continue to have this problem. Therefore, I'm calling this as basic or fundamental problems, which the scriptures call samsara. Presentation of this human disease known as bhavaroga. Bhava means this world. You know, this word in Sanskrit has speciality is one word will have so many meaning. Bhava means this world. Bhava also means Shiva. Shiva's another name is Bhava. Now, why did Shiva's wife Parvati, another name she got, Bhavani? Bhava is Shiva. Bhavani's wife, no, Bhava's wife is Bhavani. Shiva, Shivani. Bhava, Bhavani. So Bhava has 2 names, meaning. One is meaning is Lord Shiva. Bhava is also this world, samsara. So Bhava Roga. Roga means disease. So this is Bhava Roga, samsara roga is the first purpose of the first chapter. And why should, of all these, Vyasacharya, the great Acharya who has written or the composed or given us this Mahabharata and Gita. In this Mahabharata describe the samsara disease in the first chapter, because the entire Bhagavad Gita, after the first chapter, that too in the second chapter, after the 11th verse, is a remedy to these problems. Now you could know why, isn't it? So it's so beautiful. See, if you don't analyze and start thinking of this, if you just mechanically go, you will not understand anything. So the first chapter and in the second chapter up to 11th verse, it is just description of this problems of the world, basic problems. After that, from the second chapter up to, that is 17 chapters, all the other up to the 18th chapter, it is remedy for all these problems. That's why the first chapter is the disease, the human problem described by Vyasacharya. Suppose if you don't know that you have a disease, will you go to the doctor? Will you take the medicine? No. You'll keep quiet. You think you are very happy, you continue. Only the moment somebody comes and tell you, you have a disease, be careful, the symptoms are there, then you rush to the doctor and then you take the medicine and you cure the disease. That's why the first chapter is so that you can know what is the disease you are having, where are you, so you can get the remedy now from Bhagavad Gita. That's why Vyasacharya has kept this first chapter, the problem, the sorrow, the melancholy. So the entire Bhagavad Gita Shastra scripture consisting of 17 chapters, from the second chapter onward is presenting a remedy to this, and therefore this is known as Moksha Shastra, the scripture of moksha, emancipation, remedy for everything. You will get remedy to all the problems of this samsara. Therefore, unless we know the disease, we cannot appreciate the importance and relevance of the remedy. And therefore, samsara varnanam, the problems of all this word, the description is the first purpose. Then what is there any, if you tell first purpose, there should be second purpose also. What is the second purpose? If this is the first purpose to know the disease, the second purpose is, have you noticed what is this conversation? It is a conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. Lord Krishna is Jagat Guru. Arjuna is disciple. So it shows the importance of Guru-Shishya relationship. You cannot study the scriptures or the sadhana, spiritual practice, just going through the Google or going through some books, and then I have got some remedies, I'll practice some mantras, all the mantras are available on the book, so I will take up that and I will go on doing the sadhana. No, it doesn't work out. So Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and Vyasacharya in the first chapter is showing us the importance of Guru, introducing Guru Shishya, the Guru and the disciple. So the context and why should the scriptures introduce this Guru Shishya concept here? All the scriptural teachings that we find are generally in the form of dialogues between the Guru and Shishya. They are presented in the form of a dialogue, so that we have to gain spiritual knowledge only with the help of the spiritual guide. You can't just go to the medical shop and you will take some Panado or some medicines yourself. You will not go to the doctor. You take some antibiotics and you will get into problem. Likewise, if you just read something about pranayama, you read something about yoga and you will start practicing, then you may go mad. That's why you should be careful. It should be under the guidance of a good spiritual teacher. Through the Guru only you should go. Otherwise, you will be in problem. So you have come to know what are the two important aspects which the first chapter is showing us. First thing is the description of the problem, basic human problems of life. What is the second thing? To show the Guru Shishya Parampara, or the relationship by which you should not get into all these things without the help of the Guru on yourself. The disease may be one disease, headache, maybe the doctors here, so many doctors are here, they'll be knowing. Maybe due to sinus problem, maybe due to gas in the stomach, then the headache may be due to some nose problem. If you have toothache, you may get headache. 101 problem may be the cause of headache. And if you go and doctors are also, even the doctors are told not to take self-medication. You have to go to the other doctor for you if you have some problem. Suppose the doctor's children have some disease, they should not give them the medicines. Because of their intense infatuation and moha, they will give some medicines which may cause problem. So you should have cool head while deciding the medicines. That's why generally in India, we have heard, I don't know here in what is the practice in South Africa, if a doctor goes to another doctor, he has to treat him free of cost. He should not charge him. So that custom is there in India. I don't know here. Let us not go to those things now. So the important thing, second aspect of first chapter is that you should not have something like self-medication, going to a book or taking up some Google instructions and then getting into problem. It should be through the guru. The first is basic human problems. Now we will concentrate on the basic human problems. What is our scriptures or Bhagavad Gita trying to tell here? Now, Vyasacharya in the first chapter points out that samsara or this world is a combination of three diseases. Note carefully, three diseases. What are they? So if there is only one disease, okay, you call it as disease. If there are three diseases, ask the doctors, they will tell you it's called syndrome. Many diseases are there. It is called syndrome. Here, it is three diseases. So it's a syndrome. It is not one problem, but three diseases. What are they? The first one in Bhagavad Gita, so many times this word is repeated. What is that? The first problem, important problem, which leads to all other problems is ragaha. You told the Sanskrit term ragaha. What is the meaning of it? Attachment. Ragaha means attachment. Everywhere in Bhagavad Gita, it tells about attachment. Raga dvesha viyuktaistu. Raga, dvesha. So raga is attachment. Opposite of that, detachment. So everywhere you find about this attachment. That's why the first problem in this syndrome is ragaha. See, well, the musicians in Hindustani music and in Carnatic music also, there is another raga. That is the tones or tunes, not that raga. The same raga has so many meanings. Here raga in Bengali language, here our professor is there. What is meant by raga? Anger. Rag hobena means don't get angry, they tell. But here in Sanskrit, ragaha means attachment. Now we will study what is this attachment or ragaha. Before that, I will tell you one incident which happened in the life of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda was moving about all over India as an itinerant monk. Sometimes he will be in the house of a beggar, in a cobbler's house, or he will be in the house of in a slum dweller's house, or he may be another time living in the palace. He will be living in an officer's house. So as an itinerant monk, he was just walking all over India and he was studying the society. At the time, he came to Mysore. In Mysore, he stayed in Mysore Maharaja's palace. At the time, the Mysore Maharaja, the king, he came to know the greatness of Swami Vivekananda. So he kept him, he learned from him, he was showing his kingdom, asking so many advice from Swami Vivekananda. One day, he came to know that Swami Vivekananda was a great musician. Swami Vivekananda was adept in Hindustani classical music, Drupad classical music. He was an expert, not ordinary person, expert in tabla, expert in pakavas. So he had so many great qualities from Vivekananda. So he asked him to sing one raga. Then immediately Swami Vivekananda started singing Ahir Bhairav, one beautiful raga is there in Hindustani. That's called Chakravaka in Carnatiki music. The same South Indian name for that Hindustani Ahir Bhairav is Chakravaka. Now, after the singing, the court musician there, he was a senior, very good sadhaka, good person. He asked this court musician to comment about how Swamiji sang this about raga. Swamiji sang with the devotion to the Lord, not concentrating on the grammatical aspect of raga. This was devotion to please the Lord. So he sang that raga. Now this musician in the court started looking into the grammar of the raga. Now he started finding, oh, there was a fault here, there was this fault, and other things he started telling about in the court. Then Swamiji, in that high mood, after singing that beautiful song, he told, oh, you Pandit scholar, you are just in the raga. You have not come to viraga. That's all. Raga here is attachment. He used that word, pan. You have not come to viraga. What is viraga? Renunciation. You are just in attachment to the raga. You have not come to detachment and attachment to the Lord. Those were the words. That's all. That made such an impact. Afterwards, he gave up everything. That person, just by those words of Swami Vivekananda, he became a great sannyasi and a saint and gave up all that courtship and other things and meditated on Lord, and he became a great saint. Just one word of Swamiji. So here, raga can be taken as the musical tone, but real meaning here is attachment. Oh, you are still in raga. You have not come to viraga. You have not come to renunciation, detachment. That was the word. You are still in the raga. So now let us study what this raga or attachment is. We think raga or attachment means English, you tell, attach something. You take some, what you call gum, and then attach two things. You call that is attachment. What is true attachment? What is raga? Yes, Vedantic raga. In Vedanta or in our scripture, raga means attachment, emotional dependence. You depend upon so many people, so many things, so many objects. Emotionally, you get attached to that. It may be husband, it may be father, it may be mother, it may be friends, it may be wife, it may be children, and objects also. You want to have a radio, you want to have a television, you have attached to the phone. You can't stay without the phone. So many attachments are there. You feel uncomfortable without those things or those people. You feel helpless. So it is psychological and emotional dependence that is called raga, attachment. So you have to go deeper and deeper, not just be superficial. You have to read between the lines. So now, what is attachment? The emotional dependence, psychological addiction, that's called raga, attachment. When we talk about raga in the Bhagavad Gita very often, now we should be very, very careful. What is that? We will confuse it for love. You should know the difference between prema and raga. Love and attachment. We confuse with love and attachment. We take love as attachment and attachment as love. So now we have to differentiate between what is love and attachment. Otherwise, it will be total utter failure now. So now, first of all, we have come to know what is raga, attachment. What is attachment? Clear your mind. All the cobwebs should be clear now. What is raga? Attachment, psychological attachment or addiction or emotional dependence upon something or some person is raga. It's very, very similar to love, closer emotion. These are all emotions. They are very close emotions. While attachment is very much criticized in our scriptures and Bhagavad Gita, love is something very much glorified in Bhagavad Gita and our scriptures. Know that difference. Love is glorified in our scriptures and Bhagavad Gita, whereas attachment is criticized all through. So now, first difference between love and attachment. Let us see what is that other differences. By that we can understand the difference between this love and attachment. While attachment is presented as a trait of this disease or samsara or a samsari, love is presented as a trait and characteristic of a liberated and saintly person. Second difference. Okay. For the attached people of the world who are with all the worldly nature, that emotion, it is the trait of attachment, is the trait of worldly people. And trait and characteristic of saints and liberated soul is love. So you came to know the second difference. Okay. What is the other difference? Please go on telling us the difference between love and attachment. Now, Vedanta, or our scriptures, Vedas and Vedanta, is against attachment. But Vedanta is all for true love. Now, how do you differentiate between attachment and love? As I have said, the first difference is attachment is based on selfishness. How to differentiate? Attachment is based on selfishness. Love is based on unselfishness. Okay, let us understand it in a better way. Let us think I'm attached to a person or a thing. I'm emotionally hooked or dependent on holding on to that person based on selfishness, which means all the time I think of what do I get from that person. I'm interested only with that person. I'm attached only because I have something to gain. I've told many times in my lectures, a student in our institution there in India was wearing a t-shirt. What was written on that? My father is my ATM. What is ATM? All-time money. So he loves his father only if he gives money and facilities. Suppose from tomorrow the father doesn't give him facilities and money, he doesn't care for his father. So why does he love or is attached to that father? Only because gives him facilities. Otherwise, gone. Why does a person loves his mother? She has to cook, she has to wash the clothes, she has to serve the tea to the dining table, bed coffee. So what is mother then according to us? Service, all-time service mission. Father is all-time money. So what is God to us then? All-time boon-giving mission. Should be giving us boon and looking after us, protecting us, then only we are attached to God. Otherwise, you are no useless. We don't want you, God. So see, attachment is based on selfishness. What do I get? So now, have you come to know the important difference between attachment and love? Yeah. What do I get out of the particular relationship or that person or the thing? I never bother about what the other person gets out of this relationship. Not bothered. Whether you die or you are happy or you are in problem, I'm not bothered about that person. I am only bothered about what do I get. I should be happy always. Whether that person is happy or not, no, I'm not bothered. That is attachment. So I'm emotionally dependent upon that person. I'm that selfish leaning, that selfish dependence is called raga. Then what is love? Love is totally different relationship. It is based on selflessness, unselfishness, where I'm not going to emphasize very much on what do I get out of it, but I'm interested also in that person too. That's why there is a term in our scriptures called abhyudaya. Udaya means welfare. Welfare of only myself is udaya. Abhyudaya means welfare of all, everybody. Welfare of everybody. So suppose everybody is developing and happy, then are you left out of that? You are also included in that everybody, isn't it? So if everybody happy, you will be happy. If everybody is sad and morose or dying or having some problem, can you be happy? So abhyudaya, total welfare. So selfishness and love, now you can see. So I'm in this, love is totally different relationship is based on unselfishness, selflessness. I'm going to emphasize very much on what I may not emphasize very much on what do I get, but I'm also interested. I'm interested in the other person also, not that I should ignore my own well-being, also interested very much in the welfare and well-being of everybody, others on whom I am dependent, whether it is father, mother, husband, children, wife, everybody, anybody for that sake. Therefore, love is based on selflessness or unselfishness, whereas attachment is based on selfishness. I will give you an example. So it may be a personal example. When I was at the age of 18 or 19, I wanted to become a monk, wanted to join the Ramakrishna Ashrama. So the tradition in India is you should always take the permission and blessings of your mother. Mother is given a very high position, even in our order, Ramakrishna order, mother is given a very high position. So I went to my mother, fell at her feet. I did namaskara and told mother, I want to become a monk. I want to join the Ramakrishna order as a monk. Please bless me and give me permission. Then do you know what my mother told me? She told, my dear child, even now, that maybe that might have happened some 30, 35 or 38 or 40 years back, still ringing in my ears, those words of my mother. What did she tell? My dear child, I'm not bothered whether you will become a monk or a householder. I'm not bothered whether you will join the Ramakrishna monastery or you will stay in my house. My paramount interest is wherever you are, whatever you are, you should be happy. Whether you become a monk or a householder is not my botheration. Whether you live here with me in the house or whether you live in the monastery is not my botheration. My only paramount interest is wherever you are, whatever you are, you should be always happy. She was not bothered about herself, her happiness, her attachment. Her paramount interest was in my happiness, in the happiness of the child. That is true love. Okay, can you give any other example? After I joined the ashram, then I was reading for so many other things. So while I was reading the newspaper, in the border of Maharashtra, northern part of Karnataka, an incident had happened. What was that? As usual, parents, father and mother, and they had one child. He was studying in the 4th year of engineering. See, 4th year of engineering, another 2 years or something was there for him to complete his engineering. As usual, students, you know, everywhere, he fell in love with a girl. He wanted to marry her. Now came to the parents to ask permission. Then the father, mother, you know, in India, there's caste restrictions are too much there. Which caste has to belong? Low caste, then mine. Then you can't marry. Oh, family tradition, that and this, we will not allow, not give permission, parents told. But they were in deep love, so they wanted to marry. So what is the remedy? Run away. Elope or something, run away. So now when they planned for running away, the parents came to know, got hold of him, then kept him in the house, locked him. Then so many times he tried to, see, this is a real-time event which came in the newspaper. I'm not concocting a story. It was in the newspaper. So then he tried to somehow escape from the house. Then the parents locked him up in a room. And after that, again, he tried to escape. So now here afterwards, what did they do? They took him into an inner room, chained him. So the mother used to provide food, bathe him, change his cloth, and do everything in that chained position in the room. Everything was done there, but they would never let him out. Father and mother, father earned the money, bought everything. The mother served him. They kept him in the room, locked, chained for 11 years. And somehow the neighbors, he became half mad. Neighbors came to know that he's being locked up and this thing because of his wailing and this thing. They complained to the police and the police had to come interfere, then go inside, break the lock and take him to this thing. He was half mad. He was taken to the mental asylum and he was treated there. Then it came in the newspaper. Now it seems as if this is love of the father and mother, isn't it, to the child? It seems that it is the love and the father. They're serving him, they're clothing him, bathing him, looking after him, they're providing money, everything they are doing. Do you think this is love? It's attachment. Only my welfare is important here, selfishness. The happiness of the child is not important. I should be happy. My selfishness is important. So this is attachment. So now you can know the difference, you see. So we have come to know the first important difference between love and attachment. Now we shall study something, at least we will finish today by knowing the difference. Then we will go to the other basic problems. So in this, what is the second important difference between love and attachment? Attachment is always in the form of taking. Love is always in the form of giving. What shall I give? What shall I do? Attachment is always, what shall I get? What shall I get? I hold on to things and situations and people for getting something, taking something, whereas love is something which is based on giving and sacrifice. So please note those differences. It's very, very important. First difference, second difference, to note it, otherwise you will forget it. So always in the form of taking my own thing, then giving and sacrifice is love. One is in the form of taking, another is in the form of giving, that is sacrifice. Whereas the third important difference, attachment is always conditional. Love is unconditional. No condition attached to that. Ahituka. Now, Mother Sharda Devi, Ramakrishna took the sins of so many sinners come to them. Was there any condition, my relative, or will he give something? No, unconditional. Ahituka, prema, love, unconditional. So love is based on no conditions, unconditional. But attachment is based on conditional. So third important difference. As long as I'm going to be benefited by relationship, as long as I'm comfortable, I hold on to that relationship. The moment I'm not comfortable, I drop that relationship like a hot potato. Now we can see all the divorces happening now. Why is it? Because I don't get something. Do you call this love? So now you have come to know the moment I'm not comfortable, I drop the relationship like a hot potato, and that conditional psychological dependence is called attachment. Whereas love is not based on conditions, it is unconditional. And next, attachment raga invariably comes from weak mind, weak people. Love comes from strong mind, strong people, character, men of character. So wonderful differences you have come to know. Whereas love is not born out of weakness, but it comes out of strength and fullness. And finally, in attachment, intellect is clouded, confused, cobwebs, confused. And that's why it leads to violation of dharma. You become adharmic because of attachment. It leads to violation of dharma. Attachment will lead to violation of dharma, whereas in love, a person's intellect is sane, clarity of thought and mind clear. Therefore, it will never lead to violation of dharma. These are the main difference between attachment and love. So you should be very, very careful now and understand what is the difference between attachment and love. Don't confuse for this and that. Now I've given you all the differences. Note it down and start thinking, analyzing where we are. So these are the main differences. And love is a sign of freedom. Attachment, as if the name is itself telling, is a sign of bondage. Love is a sign of freedom. Attachment is a sign of bondage. And therefore, attachment is presented as the first basic disease of samsara. So we will go to the second disease next class. After studying some verses and going to all the problems of the samsara in the form of Duryodhana and all other people, we'll go to the next second disease. What is that? Attachment lead to something. What will attachment, because you have this attachment and all these problems, psychological dependence, what will it lead to? Because you are attached. Suppose that person or thing goes away, what will you get? The second disease is shoka, sorrow. This disease will lead to the next thing is shoka, sorrow. What is Arjuna having? Vishada, shoka, sorrow. So attachment leads to sorrow, the next disease. So we will study about that in the next discussion. And that again, I told you, this is combination of three diseases. Shoka will lead to something else. So all that thing we'll study next. Now we will stop here with the chanting of one of the meditation mantra. Mukam karoti vachalam Mukam karoti vachalam Bhangum langhayate girim Pangum langhayate girim Yatkrupatamaham vande Yatkrupatamaham vande Paramanandamadhavam Paramanandamadhavam. The sacrifice, the love, if it is turned towards worldly people, it will bind you. The sacrifice, the love and attachment, if you turn towards God, it becomes bhakti. That's all. Devotion. Now you come to know what is devotion. Bhakti. The attachment. Instead of the things, psychological dependence, emotional dependence on the worldly people, other worldly people, people in relationship or things, if you it is worldly things and worldly people, it will bind you. Love or attachment turned towards God will become devotion, which will liberate you. So now you can know the difference between attachment and devotion, and love and devotion also. So how does it become devotion? Turn it towards God. Then it becomes devotion. That's all. Okay. Any questions of what we have discussed today? Okay, if you don't have questions, we will meet in the next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.